Hello and welcome back to the SWAN Pricing Show. My name is Filip Vucic. I'm a pricing mentor.
And I'm Filip Zolota, business mentor.
Um, Today we want to talk about, well, we want to talk about the dark side of focus. Uh, because I mean, focus is specifically market focus, right? Focusing your market, narrowing it down, niching down. Um, because on one hand, people talk about it as if it's free real estate, right? You just focus and then everything is good. You just focus. You just take the focusing hat and then you focus and then you're focused and then everything is better. And on the other hand, and I think this is the first distinction between Swan and Duck worlds. Nobody really thinks that it's actually possible. So you narrow down the people who you want to work with, and something good happens, right? It sounds like, uh, you know, you were trying to get like 1,000 people, and now you try to get 100 people, and somehow that's supposed to be better. And yes, it is. So just to not to bury the lead, our conclusion is probably also again going to be yes, you should do market focus. However, let's not be naive about it. There are costs, right? You said something in the pre-show about the difference between the Swan and the Duck look at focus.
Yeah, there is one very important parameter, as you mentioned, niching down, focus and focusing on specific target on the market is relevant, but also you need to take into consideration the effective state of the market, depending on the type of service you are providing as the expert, and also the market potential. There are specific locations where niching down won't be helpful and supportive for your endeavor nor your business. And also, on the other hand, uh, as much as narrowing down and focus is relevant, in the same time, you're leaving behind potentially interesting opportunities, but not necessarily that you're the guy who can do it all. No, but from the networking perspective, there are interesting potentials which you cannot utilize if you've just eliminated and left them behind. Other way around, people who are multiple business owners, those activities and their business ventures don't need necessarily handle the same type of client. Somebody can have marketing agency in the same time e-commerce business and do something offline. Why not? Just as the example, there is a very different focus in terms of targeted market. But the point is, if you have strong network relevant connections, then it is much more easier to scale and even set up the business as it is, because you have so many opportunities in terms of contacts who can partner up with you, so you don't need to start something from zero. You already have established businesses and partners who can jump into the venture scenario, and in comparison, you can do so much together. That is one relevant thing I would definitely emphasize and put into consideration in the focus topic.
Okay. So yes, and as we spoke about it in the duck world and the commoditized space, um, it doesn't really do that much good if you try to specialize, except if you go into like expert mode, right? And then it ceases to be the duck market, and it's a swan market. So I worked with a plumber, which is usually an commoditized, let's say, uh, um, offering
Mhm.
service. However, not always. This one was specialized on big building, so uh, uh, 50 plus apartments, and
Mhm.
they never really dealt with uh, apartment dwellers in general, they talk to the building manager, right? And because in these huge buildings, there is no such thing in one as one person's toilet or like pipe. So toilet, yes, not pipe, right? All of the pipes go through multiple apartments and can do stacking damage, right? So this was uh, specialization, a market focus, but of somebody who started from as a commoditized uh, uh, service. Um, I want to say offer
Okay.
provider, as a commoditized service provider, um, and ended up as an expert service provider in a field that is usually commoditized, but he is definitely not. What he can do and the tools that he can do. So he is not, in his own words, a one truck chuck,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? He is not an individual that maybe has a couple of colleagues to help him. He is highly organized and highly tooled up to deal with these um, shitty shit situations. Uh, pun,
Sometimes literally.
pun intended. Anyway, he's an expert, so he's a swan, right? But in the fully commoditized space, focus is mostly seen as a loss, and so an empty letter, right? An empty word on a document somewhere or on a
Mhm.
PowerPoint, right? Um, but when we move to the SWAN space, it's no longer the case. So when we talk about the costs, what I mean by costs is, well, if you do take market focus, that means you need to, just like he did, invest in tools or training that cannot be easily reused for something else. Um, and also, if you specialize, you're going to have some streamlined pricing rules, which saps limits your pricing
Mhm.
flexibility, probably leading to some missed sales. And I'm sure that happened to you as well
Mhm.
after you specialized, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you say
Absolutely.
something about that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When I started my agency business, you know how it goes. You do it practically all because you need to do. We started on small market of Croatia. It was hard. You need to set up social proof and blah blah. Yeah, a regular thing. But as time flew by, if you want to be good at something or best, you need to narrow down the focus, specialize. And practically, we we through the time switched the tide from being perceived as one more agency and commodity. We position ourselves as the experts, seniors only, working in narrow down niche markets and industries, and that's it. That is definitely helpful and supportive because when people know you and you are already being positioned, not just in public, but in front of the eyes of those people who are actually and truly interested in the experts like yourself,
Yes.
it's a no-brainer because you start to it is in increasing number of continuous inbound leads. Surely that is definitely an investment from the networking perspective, being out there, being helpful, being supportive. But cumulatively speaking, that is the point and the result of narrowing down, niching down, and focusing on specific field of expertise. And for everything else, I even have today cases where clients are, can you do this or that? We could, but we won't be doing that. We'll be connecting you with adequate partner who can help you and support you. And that's it. Fair and square. We do our stuff while we are introducing partners from our portfolio, colleagues who can support also our client, and in joint venture together, we can build them something, whatever that goal is. And that's it.
Yeah. uh, to continue on, um, with the cost of focus, right?
Mhm.
And I know this happens to me. You probably spend more time screening clients, right? Um, and sometimes, so some old clients that are used to you working on anything that they want to pay you for. Sometimes you disappoint them, let's say, by saying, no, I can't, I don't work on that anymore, right? I don't work in that way anymore. This is what my focus is right now. I'll happily continue doing this, but I'm not venturing into something that I have to research and relearn.
Mhm.
Um, Again, because that doesn't pay, right? Not for me. I'll connect you with somebody, I'll help you with that, but I will not do it anymore, right? Um, and speaking of important clients, when you focus, there's a greater risk of dependency on the good fortunes of a particular client or market segment, right? If
Mhm.
the whole market segment goes to heck, which sometimes happens,
Yeah.
it's much harder to ignore. Uh, I mean, usually, if you're doing the right thing, market focus means you get a lot more profit, which then can cushion you with cases like this, right? But this is why I don't do geographical focus. I do
Mhm.
horizontal focus, so I deal with people who have the same problem in many industries and in many places. And now summer is coming, and I'm very happy that I have my Australian and South African clients because to them it's winter. Winter without a Christmas in it, right? So they just continue working. Yeah. Um, so they're impossible to come by at Christmas, but that's fine. But now everybody else. So I haven't. Have you worked with South America yet?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
haven't
have,
yet.
I have,
That
I
that
have.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's
And
not counting Antarctica. That's the only continent I haven't worked with yet. But we'll
I,
get
I had one specific, just to mention that I have one specific challenge simply due to time difference.
there.
For me, okay, US, Canada, it's by default. We are majority of the contacts and relationships are exactly there. But when we had conversations and business opportunities in Vietnam, that was challenging. Some of the meetings were starting at 4 a.m. our time. So that was interesting. At least I can say interesting.
Yes. So anyway, because of this dependency, I cannot afford to say, oh, I just want to stay within my like plus two minus two time zones, and that's going to be very easy to arrange. No, I have to reach far so that I go around this cost of market focus, right? And by the way, I consciously remember the time
Mhm,
where I focused
mhm,
because I was naming my YouTube channel. That's the first thing
mhm,
that I rebranded, and I named it Fearless Pricing. And the friend who was with me at the time, he said, "Are you sure? Because you do so much more than just pricing, and this will cement the idea that you do pricing." And I said, "Yes, yes, because as we spoke before, once you're known to be good at something, then people will negotiate your availability to them themselves. So they will come and say, okay, so you do. This happened to me last year. So somebody who has their prices fixed by the government came and said, okay, you do pricing. You can't do my pricing, but can you help me with this and this? And it was about market focus, and yes I could, and yes I did. But I didn't have to go around and say, oh yes, I can also do that. She did that for me, right?
mhm.
um Anyway, uh, also when you don't follow the whole field, there's a chance you're going to be late to adapt to new trends.
Mm-hmm.
You could be
Mm-hmm.
falling behind because your industry, your segment hasn't gone through the change yet, although the most of them have. So you're going to see it later. That can be costly, or it doesn't have to be, depending on what else happens, right? And okay, finally, there's a narrower client base which limits networking opportunities, because sooner or later you get to know everybody who is within that niche, and then it stops there, right? So you have to consciously go out and find networking opportunities. They don't just happen,
Yeah.
right? Which sometimes works. And as we spoke about networking a couple of times, the problem with networking is that it sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyway, I still think a market focus, niching down, narrowing is the lesser of two evils. Because running after running after every wallet you see, it's like trying to run after every fish you see. You're not going to catch much. You might catch something, you're not going to be happy with the overall result, right? Because you run after one, and then in one direction, then it goes away too far, and you run. So it takes a lot of energy, and not much. Um, I saw a bumper
Hmm.
sticker once. It said, "Synergy without strategy is a waste of energy."
Yeah. And,
So
and, 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 and that is the fact, because when we're talking about multiple
yes,
business ventures, for example, if you don't have the clear plan where you're aiming at and going, okay, everything can be strategically important. And then you're betting on luck, your idea about it will be confirmed or not. And what then? You missed. You made the wrong assumption, and the steps you took were bad. And you're literally betting on luck. Whatever people are doing, even in having and being involved in several business ventures, everything should be set up with solid rock foundation long term. And as you mentioned, from the networking perspective, networking, absolutely, absolutely. But also having strategically relevant resources which will be helping in supporting the global venture. I have one interesting example in manufacturing. We became also one of the elements of that consortium. It's a group of around 20 to 30 businesses, companies, which are specialists in their respectable fields, and together and combined provide the expert service to manufacturing businesses. That's it. It's not that one company decides to do it all. No, professionals in one place. You practically have the ecosystem of supportive professional and expert entities which can help some challenge, issue, problem, or whatever plan manage and handle. And that is something what is long term speaking meaningful.
yeah. Um, in um, as we spoke of many times, showing off your professionalism, showing off your value, can be greatly boosted by good design, and also your pricing policy.
Mhm.
It simply shows unequivocally what you are, how you function, no matter what you say, right? Um, it's so a couple of years ago, when we still had the kuna here, not the euro,
Mhm.
right? The Croatian currency. You could say, oh yes, yes, we work with international firms all the time, and then you send the offer to a foreign entity in kuna. I mean, yeah, everybody can convert. You know, that they can go to Google and see what it is. However, this doesn't seem like you actually work with strangers, with foreigners, right? Even to local people, if you did that, they would know that probably you do that to. So you can say whatever you like, but this is a part of the image, right? The pricing policy. And because
Mhm.
of that, all of the costs mentioned that so all of the costs that we just said are worth it because um, by focusing, you get a head start on building the client's trust.
Yeah.
And so if we talked about many times how trust is why they pay you, right? Trust and confidence, and if you can clearly and confidently answer their question of how much, that's worth it. That's worth it. All of the costs that we talked about. But let's not pretend that they don't exist because otherwise it's like the reefer madness period of what was it, American 80s or something, right? They said you go blind if you try a certain drug and then you try it and you don't go blind and now you doubt everything, right? That doesn't mean it's a good idea. That doesn't mean that it's healthy, but they went overboard, and now you're not sure about anything. So they did the opposite of what they intended. So this is why I think it was a good idea today to go over this and say yes, all of these things will happen to you. There's all of these costs, but you should still do it. Do you have anything else to add to this? So should people focus and by the way, how did you choose your focus?
Hmm. Simply through the time I found out in general what I am the best in, and then simply decided to narrow down and do only that. Simply, as you go, you are cumulatively speaking gathering continuously new experiences, knowledge, etc. But it doesn't mean that you should be opening so many threads because it's new shiny object. That is one big challenge entrepreneurs are facing with. They're chasing new shiny objects. They have the understanding and knowledge or gather some new knowledge about specific field when they see a business opportunity. It's nice, it's good looking, but it doesn't mean you should be starting doing that. Uh, I, uh, I, 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 I get the proper lesson and being taught very early because I like to build businesses. It's my passion. And also, I had the issue with new shiny objects when I was starting. So practically, I was opening additional business thread, practically additional business activity without setting up the proper and solid foundation for something what is actually feeding the horse. And yeah, when you experience uh, ugly situations, you definitely pick up relevant information and gather new experience and knowledge, which can definitely be helpful and supportive on the run and in the future. And the fact is, if you are being very well connected and being very proactive, being helpful and supportive, a bunch of new opportunities are constantly happening to you. But it doesn't mean you should be saying yes to every one of them. Saying no more occasionally is the right way to do what you want according to your values, according to your long-term goals and desired state. And that is important because people often forget where are they moving, where they are going. So having that on mind is very relevant, and stick to the plan, what you want to achieve, because the time is very important there. You cannot overnight do some magic and you'll be getting there just like that. So it is relevant parameter definitely to think about and take into consideration in entire story of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, Um, I usually say I found my market niche by falling into it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because when just started working on my own, I had my sole proprietorship was called Houston because
Mm-hmm.
Houston, we have a problem. When you have a problem, you call Houston, which was funny, but and it worked. Um, and people called me for all sorts of things. But then I realized, so for client A, I did this, that, and pricing. Then for client B, I did pricing and something else entirely. And after a while, the pattern was no, no. So you can't do this for everybody because every other person has a guy, has a gal for this or that, but nobody has anybody for pricing. So I said, okay, pricing it is. Um, so I did analyze my own results, but that was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, stay in school, kids. Focus. Where can people find you, Philip?
People can find me on LinkedIn and also on on my mentorship page, philipizoloto.com.
People can find me on on LinkedIn as well, and all of the other things are listed on fearless-pricing.com. Happy to have you here. See you next time.
See you.